Hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another recorded Zoom interview. I assume we're going to Moscow, Idaho this morning with Chelsea McRaven Feeney. Chelsea, could we get a weather report from Moscow this morning, please?
Hello, Nick. Yes, it's a beautiful 55, I believe, and we're going to warm up to 65 today. Not too warm and not too cold. So
Excellent,
lovely
excellent.
and sunny. And the
It,
smoke is gone, which is great.
it's been interesting lately. So yes, that's always part of the equation. Viewers, can I talk directly to you just briefly here? This is the second time that I've had a chance to visit with Chelsea on camera. She is talented. She's an original. She kind of has a drive, and I'm drawn to people like that. They have a motor, and they've kind of created this out of thin air, it seems like, and that's the vibe I got from a video that I did with Chelsea 4 years ago. We met at a geology conference in Portland, Oregon, and that was in person. This one's more virtual, but we're going to get a chance to see these beautiful maps and the work that Chelsea has been doing lately. There's also been a significant change professionally that ties to Chelsea, so we're going to talk about that, and we'll just learn together from Chelsea. But this is a map maker who was trained as a geologist, and we go from there. So Chelsea, I don't know. Let's start with you do more than make maps for roadside geology books. Can you give us a sense of the broad spectrum of the work that you're doing for all these different customers, basically?
Sure. Yes. First of all, I can't believe it's been 4 years. Thank you for having me back.
Pleasure.
And I was kind of enumerating all the publications I worked on, and I'm over 100 at this point. So, and it could be
Wow.
one map or 50 maps or 150 per publication. So, or
Hmm.
figures too.
Yeah.
So, yes, I get to work with lots of different clients, mostly GSA at this point, and previously Mountain Press, who used to publish the Mountain Press roadside geology books, but they've been recently acquired by the Geological Society of America. Um, and yes, I at this point I'm a cartographer for hire. So anybody looking to do a map for their manuscript, I get a call or an email, and it's been very interesting to bounce around and figure out how to tell the story that these authors want to share. And one of the funniest ones was I was at a barbecue at a local friend's house, and this fellow professor at the University of Idaho said, "Oh, I have my book. I'm so excited. I'm ready to publish it, and I just don't. I have a map, and I don't even know who does that." And I handed her my card, and it was just a one off kind of thing. But there are some of us out there who make maps, and so I work with lots of different kinds of people, a lot of archaeologists, political scientists, mostly geologists,
Hmm.
but really anyone who wants a geospatial display of their story. So I don't know.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, so I want to do a little bit more with that verbally, and then obviously we're going to a bunch of your more recent work, and I'll be anxious to see what you've been doing lately. Viewers, in the description down below this window right now, there's going to be a link to the video that I did with Chelsea 4 years ago, so you can get a sense of us meeting for the first time. And then also in the description below, there'll be a link to get to Chelsea's page, her website, her portfolio, other things like that. You're good, Chelsea. Do you feel like people totally understand what you do? Like, is it a challenge to describe your job? And then also, how are people finding you? Are you promoting yourself, or is it all just kind of organic?
That's a great question. Let me answer the second part first.
Sure.
So, I do have a website, and I have made very key connections at certain presses around the country. For instance, Washington State University Press, right across the border in Pullman,
Right.
and then University of Utah Press. I have a lot of lovely authors that I get to work with over there. And that one came through because I was driving through Salt Lake on a family trip, and I brought them my brochure, and I said, "This is what I do.
Yeah.
Do you need anybody?" And I really encourage people to have the confidence to go do that, because I have found in my professional career that you just have to go out there and just offer your services and say, this is what I do. If you need it in the future, let me know. And I've been working with them for over, I think, 8 years now.
Hmm.
And they just kind of send me someone, and it's always very interesting how the kind of the state of the request. It's anything from a list of, say, hey, I need these on a map. Can you just put them on a map for me?
Right. Right.
Or it's, I have these particular spots, but you won't find them on Google. So here are the lat longs. Can you make this work?
Yes.
I'll even get what I like to say crayon drawings, which are not really accurate, but it's
Right.
colored pencils or just a back of the envelope sketch that says, can you make this look professional? I have no idea how to do that. And so that's where I can take our authors to the next step and help them make a publishable final product. And remind me of the first part of your question now.
Well, I guess, how do you describe your work? And it feels like you created this job for yourself. Maybe that's the wrong premise, but it appears that you weren't really replacing somebody doing exactly what you're doing. So would you mind talking about that? Because I think, yes, as I advise students in this office, they're paralyzed. They don't know exactly what their job's going to look like. And sometimes my message is, you can create whoever you want to create. If you can find a little niche in this professional world, sometimes you can make it from whole cloth and it works even better than if you're trying to fit into a specific slot. So how do you describe your work? Has it been a challenge? Do people understand all your skills?
Uh, they may not understand them at first, but it's nice to have a before and after. And so I do have a section of that on my website where you can
Yeah.
see what an author kind of is not allowed to submit, but I just suggest, don't think that you can't make a final product with your drawing or your sketch. Like we can get it there. And that's what I offer, is a background in my geology and the just the construction of a figure and what the story is trying to tell.
Yes.
Um, and everybody knows that saying, a picture is 1,000 words, and
Yeah.
I love that I get to do that I get to assist in this, like I said, geospatial display of what you're trying to show. And I would encourage students, I've done a couple of these interviews before, and I encourage students to just hone up on their skills of GIS, especially geographic information systems, and just knowing databases and knowing how to wade through the massive amount of data out there. For instance, right now I'm working on the roadside geology of New York, and I don't live in New York. I haven't been there in many, many years, but there's plenty of data out there publicly
Yeah.
available. And I'm kind of wading through a lot of data, but our roadside geology books are for everybody. And so I have to kind of look through and make a lot of decisions on what is important to show and what is not. And the thing about GIS is that there's so much great data, but I don't need it all. And so you have to work with the database. You have to do a lot of queries. You have to clean things up, and you have to kind of decide, do we really need to show all this? And as a reminder, our books here, I've got one on hand, but our books are 6x9.
Yeah.
These are, and I call them mini maps because they are, literally with the margins and everything we have to work with. I've got about 5x8, really.
Yes.
It's tiny little space, and that's not including the area for the margin, or the legends or keys. So yeah, I make a lot of decisions, and I'm trying to. I guess at the end of the day, I'm so taxed and exhausted because I realize my brain has just been making decisions all day, and the last thing I want to do is decide what to eat for dinner.
Well, that right there is, I think, what connects us. I haven't been able to put my finger on it. And if you're willing to allow me to involve myself in this conversation, I do a lot of video programs, and sometimes I do a whole series of programs, and I'm doing exactly what you just described. There's 5 years of daily reading I could do with all this detail, but it's all decisions on my part. And I say phrases like, I'm just looking for narratives. I'm looking for hooks. I'm looking for ways to make this work to everyone as opposed to just these sub-disciplines. And you're doing the same thing in these maps. You said that perfectly, and that really clicked with me. So I think that's how we are very similar. Even though I'm doing video stuff and you're doing these beautiful maps, it's the same kind of almost storytelling. Is that, do you view yourself as presenting a story or a narrative or somehow relating to what I'm trying to do here with this video stuff?
Oh, absolutely, Nick. Yes.
Yeah,
I consider it a privilege. I know I've said this a few times, but I
yeah,
get to do this. Like
right.
this is a very cool thing that I get to do. And
Yeah,
it's I keep seeing it as a service or some sort of assistance, but there are folks out there who just don't have the tools, and I get to assist in making their dreams come true with a publication.
beautiful, beautiful.
So
Well,
yeah.
I can hear the viewers like, get on with the maps. All right, enough of this touchy-feely stuff. Well, sorry, like I felt like that was important to establish first. But yes, with that context, Chelsea, would you mind sharing your screen? Let's just look at some stuff you've been doing lately, and we'll just see where we feel like going. But I'd love to see, especially things you're excited about most recently.
Okay. So I will share my screen, and the first thing I will show you is, let's see, the front cover of our newest roadside geology book. This is Texas, our third edition.
Excellent.
Um, and the image you see there on the front, it looks like it's just a pretty picture of Texas, but there's so much data that went into this.
Uh-huh. Yes.
And so as you'll see, I am the illustrator on this. And what that means is that I started with the databases. I started what I call from scratch, is that I took I sampled what was available, publicly available data from the Texas water. Oh, now I can't remember all the citations,
That's okay.
but yes, what was publicly available from the survey or the bureaus, and then I catered it to fit our audience. So the color choices are all very deliberate,
Mm-hmm.
and most of what you'll see in these kind of maps are divided by age. Can you see my cursor
Yes.
moving?
Yes.
Okay, so we've got our coastal plain sediments, and then we've got our hill country, and then you've got what I call the belly button, which is our
Ah,
uplift. And then we've got our Paleozoic. So our Paleozoics are blue, and then we've got this Llano Estacado, I believe it's called. It's a kind of a planed off surface, and the Rocky Mountains are way over here. So we've got this kind of remnant erosional surface here, and then we've got our volcanics over here. So that is a very cursory description of
sure.
Texas geology, but it's very cool to be able to work with an entire state. So I get to think about the whole state, how it's divided up, and the reason I choose the colors that I do is so it kind of highlights certain parts of our story. So the state map for the state of Texas would not look exactly like this because their colors are divided a little bit differently. But for
Mm-hmm.
our book, we like to divide things so it's very clear. Like we're talking about the Paleozoics, we're talking about our Cretaceous here with the around the green colors here, and then of course the volcanics back here. So that I get excited when they choose to use my map on the front cover too, because they don't
Yes,
always.
absolutely. Why wouldn't
Um,
they?
and let's see, the other more recent roadside geology one here is Arizona.
Oh,
So that
great.
one just came out this spring, and both of those are available now. Again, the maps here were created this was it's such a collaboration. So Steve Reynolds and Julia Johnson are the authors, and they actually submitted maps for the book, but I worked so much on refining them and standardizing them and kind of cleaning them up that it was a decision by the authors to include me as illustrator.
Good.
I'm not a searchable author, so I wouldn't be in like a database of at a bookstore or something. Just give me all the
Hmm.
books by Chelsea Feeney. That's not how you're gonna find me.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I do. It is an honor to be included on the front. And the third book that just came out this year, unfortunately, no maps on the front, but I did all the maps for the inside of this book, the Texas Rocks book, and this is an example of our State Rock series where we highlight 50 to 60 sites around the state,
Hmm.
and take you directly to them. So just wanted to promote those really quick. And let's see, another big project that I've been working on with GSA are the conference maps. So the Connects, which is our national conference coming up in San Antonio, we have been working on these kind of geosite maps. And here is kind of a rough copy of what will be available at the conference. And so it's a smattering of geosites, and it's kind of to direct people to our products. So picking up the guidebooks, but this is more of a visual display of just a huge area. And I'd like to highlight on this one, we have three different maps that went into this one. So this was the geologic map of New Mexico, the geologic map of Texas, and then
Ah,
the geologic map across the border in Mexico. And
yes.
one of the themes from this conference is geology without borders, and that is a nightmare for cartographers
Yeah.
because there are borders and the data stops at the edge. So it was interesting to work with 1 to 250,000 scale for Texas, 1 to 500,000 scale for New Mexico, and 1 to 1 million scale for Mexico. So
Wow.
there is some differences there in the kind of the blending and merging of the geology, but that was a fun challenge to work on. And the backside of this map is just a highlight of the different themes. So particularly for GSA in San Antonio, we have here's the geology without borders. From Earth to the cosmos and energy and resource innovations in the 21st century. And these are huge topics.
Yes. Yes.
So the challenge for me was to come up with just kind of promotional figures that I've either had in other publications or just to again tell this story. And so I worked with Nathan Nemi, the president of GSA currently, and we put together, I think, a very nice kind of summary of what our conference is about. So just wanted to share that with you all.
Good.
Um,
Thank you. Doing great as always. Can you stop your share, Chelsea? Let's do a couple of verbal things
yeah,
and then we'll go back to some more. Yeah,
okay,
you're such a natural with this. It's just so easy to talk to you.
thank you.
Um, I'm trying, as I was looking at those maps right now, I was trying to think about uh, someone going, they're just a bunch of maps. What's the big deal? Like, why don't you don't highlight other people making maps? What's different here? And I think what drew me to your work in those roadside geology books in particular, but since to other publications as well, is you've got the right sweet spot. So we're back to your making choices again. Like there's not too much detail that it feels almost pointless. Like who are you talking to? There's like 75 units in one county or whatever. Like I don't. But they're not cartoonish and broad and just almost insulting to the viewer, where it's like there's two colors for this whole province or something. So I know that's intentional, and the color choice is intentional as well. But would you mind talking a little bit more about finding the sweet spot between too much detail and too much broad stuff, and how much is that you leading the way with some of the authors you're working with, or are they stubborn and saying, no, I really need all this detail. I've spent my whole career on these details. How dare you say we're going to take out half of these units? How does that work with these collaborations you've been doing?
That's a great question. I agree. We are highly collaborative, so there is no stepping on toes. I will say that. And the conversation is multifaceted, I would say. So there's so many different steps that go into making a final product. And I'll bring up New York again because we're right in the
Sure.
beginning. We haven't really gone to page proofs. We're still constructing everything. And um, luckily, I have an amazing contact still, Jennifer Carey, who's our editorial manager, and she has been working with. I've been working with her for oh gosh, 15 years now. So we talk about the units and what is required of our books, and we do she gets the overall sense, the substantive edits of, what are we trying to show here? And I mean, we just had a conversation just the other day about Northern New York and the Adirondacks. And I was like, how much detail do we really need to show? Because
Yes.
by the way, I don't see the manuscripts until page proofs. So there is a lot of conversation that happens ahead of time. So I have charts and I have strat columns and I have figures that I am gleaning information to create the map that you see. And then, of course, I do get to read the whole thing through, but it's almost too much at first. Like
Yes.
I kind of just need to know, all right, tell me how much detail we need in the Paleozoics, and then can I just lump them by age, or do we really need to go into more detail? So what we've been doing is making just a beautiful spreadsheet about every unit that is talked about in the manuscript. So that's helpful for me, that I don't have to wait till page proofs to be like, oh, kidding, are you kidding? We missed this whole bunch of Ordovician rocks. We should have really highlighted those. It would have been
Right.
nice to know at the beginning. So yeah, there's a lot of that conversation that happens. However, sometimes, yeah, so sometimes, as far as the complexity that we choose to that I choose to show, what that means with database management is that I need to start with all the data. Because if I go simple and I just merge everything together, and
Right.
then later on somebody says, hey, I really need you to pull out the Oriskany sandstone, and I'm like,
Right.
whoops, I should have left that.
Yes.
So I don't do too much merging, like literal merging in the database. I can do visual merging where you have everything the same color. I turn off the contacts in between so it looks like it's all one unit. But if I have to pop it out again, I can. So does that help?
It does. Yes. I don't know if you view yourself in this way, but I think I do, especially with this conversation so far. You're doing outreach essentially. You're taking detailed science and you're packaging it for a general audience. And to me, it's a struggle for most people in science to do that because A, they don't really think that much about people outside of their little world and how it would be perceived. And even if they do, they don't know how to communicate with people beyond their little world. And it's usually this discussion right here, how to find the sweet spot. And I think I'm realizing right now in real time with you, that's why your maps work so well for me. It's just the right, it's pleasing with the colors and all that, but it's literally the tone. Like I work on a tone with kind of verbal stuff and other kinds of homey kind of things, but your tone is coming through with those maps as well, literally with the color choices and everything else, but also just it's almost okay, I'm going to go too far now. It's almost like you're giving your audience, your map readers credit. You're like, you can handle this. I think you can see these details, and you maybe didn't quite see it in the text, but now you've got it on page 13 in the upper half, and I've got it for you. So I don't know. I think for me at least, that's what you're doing. I think we should go back to looking at more of your stuff. No, one more thing. I'm sorry. You mentioned Jennifer. So you worked with Mountain Press, and Jennifer, what was Jennifer's title with Mountain Press?
She's our editorial manager.
Okay.
Yeah. And
And
she's actually with GSA now. So do you want me to talk about that acquisition, or
if you're comfortable, I'm curious how that has changed. Has it changed anything with your relationship with Jennifer or the way you're doing business these days?
Oh, I would say absolutely, and then also not, because uh, GSA I've been a member with them for over 20 years, and I can't remember how much detail I shared with this in our last interview, but yeah, I have been volunteering with them. I had a master's grant from them when I was doing my thesis. It's kind of come full circle that I get to work with them again in this capacity.
Yeah.
And when GSA acquired the geology books, they did not purchase Mountain Press. Mountain Press is still a publishing house, and
Okay.
they are now our distributor of these books. So we still have a very strong relationship with them. And I suppose the books kind of I got to go with the books as a contractor. Excuse me.
You need some
And
water?
yeah, thank you.
Here's to you.
Thank you. Um, yeah, so Jennifer and I work pretty closely together, and we she has been sending me like little cryptic notes on the side of the maps for years, and I kind of say, oh, okay, I see what Jen is saying here, and we kind of work together and figure out how to get to the final step in the process. But
Yeah. Okay.
um,
Well, good. I'm encouraged that that key relationship is still going. Has your workload increased? Are you still in charge of your workload? And how many projects are in the queue after what you're doing now?
yes, I have plenty of autonomy. I'm really grateful for,
Good.
and the queue goes out for years.
Really? Years?
Yeah, because we have authors who have contracted books, and they say, give me another year, or I need another 2 years, or we've got books that are coming in, and so I like to work project by project because if my brain is in Texas, I don't want to
Yeah.
be thinking about New York.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so and vice versa. So I try really hard to really kind of package it all together and do batch projects. And so once I submit it, beyond me, they do all more, the editorial and beyond all, like all the copy editing and stuff, and they'll send corrections back to me. But by that point, the bulk of my work has been completed. So, but yeah, what I love about the acquisition is that I feel like these books that I love and I put so much heart and soul into,
Yeah.
and blood, sweat, and tears,
Yes.
um, have a forever home now, and it's
Right.
it's a wonderful thing to know that this larger nonprofit can offer just a new approach, maybe digital maps of the future, maybe apps, maybe we've got a lot of possibilities with a kind of larger umbrella now, and I feel very happy that that is where these books are going. So, and we still have the distribution network of Mountain Press, which is really wonderful. So
Okay.
it is collaborative. Yeah.
Good. I'm glad to hear that report. Hey, let's share your screen again, Chelsea, if you get your throat just set up just right. And we can, I noticed you had a bunch of other tabs ready to go. So I feel like whatever you feel like you want to do for the next 10 minutes or so, that's probably enough for today. But if you
Okay.
want to go behind the scenes and how you put things together, or if you got more just finished work, and I love that belt supergroup stuff, those maps you did for the Montana book.
Well, we'll start with that then.
Okay,
Let's see.
good.
Okay. Let's share here. Oh, yeah. Okay. It's not doing what I said it was going to do. Okay.
Well,
Hold
I
on.
can I can stall for you.
Yeah, you can stall for me because and it's not
It's okay. Um, Viewers, I just am drawn to visual people who can basically take all this detailed science and package it visually like this. I mean,
okay.
this has been hugely instructive to me, and it will continue to be. And there's snobbery within the science research communities that you're really going to a roadside geology book. You really consider yourself a detailed. It's like, screw you, man. I'm getting all sorts of patterns. I'm getting all sorts of new ideas from cross sections, and you're typically presenting things in a fresh way, and it's that freshness that inspires me. So is this from the Montana or the Idaho book, I guess?
This is the Idaho one. Actually,
Okay.
just I pulled it up first because this was the first book that we decided to include the shaded relief
Oh
underneath.
yeah,
There
right.
was a discussion for years about it would kind of complicate the map, and there's all the shading, and it might change, it might be too hard to read. But I've played a lot with the opacity and the transparency and how to really not make it confusing, but just help the reader kind of see, like, what are we looking at here. And as a comparison,
Yeah.
let me just pull up the
Oh, this is
adjacent map from Montana. So
good.
this is right over the border. It's just the eastern map. So this was a couple years back. This came out in 2020, but so we didn't have the shaded relief, which maybe someday we'll add it back. But
Right.
just to show the difference here of I-90, here we have Kellogg and Wallace, and then we go east over into Montana over into Missoula. So roughly the same colors. I know I like to try to match them identically, but what I learned with the Montana book and with each new iteration of another state is, oh, we probably should have these colors pop a little bit better. So I tried really hard, tried really hard to say, well, how can we really show this? And so popping out the Pegan group was a decision that I made along the way. Let's see. Yeah, so we've got the shaded relief. We've had a discussion over the years about these unit abbreviations, these
Yes.
little tags here, and that was kind of my push because I really think that it's for our colorblind community. It doesn't help just to have the colors, so we really need a little bit more there. The belt is a huge area and billions of years old, and and a lot of this is tree covered, So part of what I get to do is I get to look at the shaded relief and the hill shades and the digital elevation maps, the terrain maps that USGS provides to be able to put some context on these maps. So so we've got some. Well, I don't know how much conversation you want about the decisions. We've kind of talked about the colors and whatnot, but again, these are tiny. These are only, 5 inches or so. And so I'm looking at a really nice 27-inch screen, but when I have to remember, this is going to be held in our readers' hands.
Yes.
How do I include everything we need on that page, knowing that I have such limited space?
Very good. Yeah. What else have you got? We can just do a little smorgasbord here.
Yeah, sure. So again,
some
North Idaho ones here. The decisions here were just to kind of highlight the intrusive rocks. So it's really clear to our readers that yes, these are older rocks as well. These are Cretaceous in age, adjacent to billions of years old. So when I make decisions on my colors, I really want the readers to say, whoa, that's different, because theoretically they're driving up to these outcrops and they're saying, oh, okay, now I know where I am. It's a real privilege to be able to assist people in getting to where the rocks are.
Nice.
Again, here's over in Montana. I also
Chelsea,
wanted to
I'm sorry, Chelsea. We're still looking at the same map that we saw originally. I don't know if are you flipping to different maps now? So we're still looking at the Northern Idaho one on the shared screen.
Your screen sharing is paused, and I don't know why.
Okay, all right.
Okay, maybe I just stop share and then I'll do it again. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But here, I'll pull up this older one from Alaska, and I brought this one up just because this is one from several years back, and this was before we had our unit abbreviations, and so I made the choice to have some pretty bright colors to kind of differentiate because we didn't have the little unit description or unit tags. So
yes.
Let's see, another example. Let's see. I don't know why it keeps. It seems like every time I change screens, it doesn't like that. So I'll just do it this way.
You're rolling well. You're rolling beautifully. Okay, good. Oh, all right.
So this particular map was from a totally different book. This is the How the North Cascades Park came to be, and the author I worked with. This was through Washington State University Press, but this was an interesting project because I had to kind of go through some very historic maps on how the park came to be and the discussions that led to the final boundaries of the park, which actually it started out quite large, the proposed boundary, and then it has shrunken to the size that it is now. But so sometimes when I have authors, they provide me all kinds of scans of really old maps or drawings or concepts that they want in a final product. So a lot of the conversations I have in the beginnings are, how much do we want to show and what do we really want to, what's the progression of the maps that you want to show? So this is just a sampling of one like that. Let's see. I could show you stuff all day, but do you have any other specific map?
Maybe. Yeah, let's stop for a sec. We can maybe, are you allowed to tell us what might be coming in the next 2 or 3 years, or is that top secret at this point?
think it's top secret if it's contracted, and I'm spending a lot of time on it. Um,
Okay.
so you can look forward to. We try to do a roadside geology book per year, maybe two, like we did Arizona and Texas. Texas was kind of, I wouldn't say a rush job. It's just we got all the information in, and then we said, "Oh, this is serendipitous. We've got San Antonio coming. Let's get it done."
Right.
Uh, and so our next one in the queue, like I said, is New York, and we also have. We just got in the Montana Rocks, so the State Rocks series. We finished up Texas Rocks and Montana Rocks, which is coming in. Well, I can't promise any of the dates of
Right.
when
Right.
anything's actually going to be published, but
Yeah.
that will be on my desk at some point. We've got Wyoming in the works too. We're trying to kind of fill in the holes of the western states and kind of work our way eastward. But and that's also an interesting conversation of how we get our authors. So a lot of our authors are award-winning GSA members, which makes the acquisition even more sense that
Right.
we are trying to highlight our members and the work that they do. And yeah, sometimes these books take a long time. And so you get authors who are finally retired and they get to put together their kind of opus of everything they've worked on. Um, yeah, those two are coming, Wyoming and let's see if I can. Well, I mean, there are several states that are contracted. So we've got
Okay.
Iowa and I think Michigan, and we've got several in the works, but these are years out.
Nice. Let's finish with this, Chelsea. Did you ever imagine 15 years ago that you would have this little business? I assume you do all this at home. And again, maybe finishing with the same idea about giving advice to young people. Who were you 15 or 20 years ago? You're a graduate student in geology. You're probably TAing field camp or something like that. And maybe you had a natural interest in maps somehow, but you didn't really have this all thought out 20 years ago, I'm guessing. So can you comment just on how you've allowed yourself or how you've created this for yourself, especially since it is kind of such an original path as a young scientist slash business person?
Yeah, sure. So, no, I didn't think I would be doing this, but like I said, I kind of saw a niche, and I said when I went up to Mountain Press with my resume at a GSA conference saying, "Who makes your maps?" And in the back of my mind, I have to admit, I was saying in the back of my mind, these could be better.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and I just offered services, and I said I know how to work in Illustrator, I know how to work in ArcGIS, and I kind of went in for, I guess it was kind of like an interview, and I just kind of showed them how I would work on something that they had, and at the time they were kind of turning authors away because they couldn't submit their own maps, and they were just not really sure how to assist them in their final product. And so it was serendipitous, but I will say just as an encouragement to just put yourself out there and hone your skills and say this is what
yeah,
I can do, and being really flexible has helped a lot. Part of why I am so glad that I get to do this is that I have two kids and I wanted to stay relevant in the field. I wanted to continue with my work, and I also know, how do you do it all? I mean, I wear so many hats throughout the week, and I want to, as we all do, we want to do well at whatever we get involved in. And
right,
so I'm technically still part-time. When the kids roll in from school on their bikes at 3 o'clock, I'm here, and it's worked out really well. And
good,
my husband is also a geologist for the Idaho Geological Survey, and so he's a mapper, a field mapper, and he'll spend weeks out in the field, which he just did for a couple of weeks. So I put on more hats while he's gone.
right,
um,
right,
but I think it's really important, especially for women in the field, to know that you got to get creative on how you stay connected to your passion and your education. I think too often I think we're kind of maybe pushed out a little bit if we choose to have a family. And I just want to encourage people that you can make it work. And I'm so glad that we can work remotely, especially since COVID. There's a lot of people working from home, which I think is really just a blessing to be able to do. And we work in a digital world, so accessing New York databases is, not very hard. And so I'm grateful
Right.
for that. Um, but yeah, I don't know if that's the answer you were looking for, but I'm just grateful that I get to do this. And my encouragement is for people to just get some certifications and get the required kind of well, I guess it's rapport, I suppose, because I've had people ask me before, like, what do I do to get into this business? And I
Right.
said, just start keeping track of what you've done and be able to show for it. And like I said, it kind of surprises me when I start adding up all this stuff, all the titles and all the different side projects. I work with nonprofits, and I've got, maps in our local like parks and stuff too here in Moscow. And people say, oh, I saw your name on the sign. And I was like, yeah, that was a fun side project that I got to do for a local board. And it's important to help people know where they are. And that's what my job is. So
It sounds like a great gig, and you are clearly committing so much of yourself to this, which is inspiring on many levels. So I'm glad you shared that stuff at the end. I think that's some of the most important stuff that people need to hear, especially the young people. They're just looking for a path, and you can make your own path if you've got just a little bit of drive, and you definitely have that, Chelsea. Chelsea, hang on the line. I'm going to stop the recording, but we'll chat for a couple more minutes. But Chelsea Feeney, thank you for your time. Always enjoyable.
thank you so much, Nick.